brings us to our Q&A session, where you've put in some great questions, some of which we've answered already as we went. But now I'll hand over to Stephen Friend, who conducts this beautifully. He directs the traffic. This is your moment, Stephen, or another one of your moments.
Thanks so much, and aloha to you, Grant.
Yeah, you're referring to my shirt.
Oh, not at all, not at all. Now, look, there's a bunch of questions here, and I'm going to invite the team to come back. We might not quite get through all of them, but we'll do our best. We want to try and respect everybody's time, of course, but let's see how we go. It is the last call. If you do have any further questions, please drop them in the Q&A now, and we'll endeavour to get to as many of them as we can. Now, a couple of questions here from Murray. Firstly, are you there, Murray?
I am.
Oh, good. I didn't scare you off after that last question. Good to see. Good to see. Well, we've got a few other little ones here. Hopefully, you've taken a few minutes just to familiarise yourself. But firstly, there was a question about the new extra field layouts on the Exo screens. Does that affect our current Exo field layout when we upgrade? Are our fields going to change position?
Yeah, it's a good question. There was an Exo version where the extra field layouts got misaligned when they upgraded, but that issue has been resolved. And as long as you're upgrading to the latest version of MYOB Exo, the current layout of your Exo fields will be retained, and the new functionality won't impact those.
Fantastic. A question here from Joanne. Their invoices used to drop the payment details if the invoice had been paid, but this was dropped as payment wasn't always able to be allocated before the invoice was generated and sent to the customer. It's come up again, and they hope that there's a solution. Now, I'm hoping you've caught that one.
Yeah. Joanne, we'd actually need to take a look at the scenario and take a look at the form itself and work through it with you. If the invoices are being generated before the payment is being taken, and then you still want to link that payment to the invoice, then we can create something for you to allow you to build that link in. But it really depends on when the invoices are going out and a few other scenarios as well. So we'd need to kind of work that through with you to make sure that the solution worked for your company. Because there's a few moving parts in there that would need to look at to be able to nail down what the right answer is.
And just to add to that, if it's a pain point for anybody, that whole process of taking payments, there is a great solution by Easy Collect with their Simply Paid service. It essentially acts as a debtor payment portal. There's the list of my 6 invoices that are outstanding. 2 of those are overdue. I'm going to select those invoices, pay with my credit card, and it automatically processes the payment and also the allocations straight into Exo. So if that's a payment point, if that's a pain point for you, not a payment point, a pain point for you now, might be worthwhile exploring as well.
Yeah.
Now, a bit of a question here from Jackie as to whether there's a trick in entering supplier alternate stock items using a quick insert. When updating prices to existing prices, updating prices, we get errors. Murray.
Yeah. So Jackie, I'm going to do what you should never do on live demos and try something for the first time. So because I'm looking at your question, and if you're doing a price update, as long as it's configured properly, you should be able to do that live update. So let's give it a go. So I've set up a file, and again, in my principle of keeping it simple, I've only got stock code, supplier code, and latest cost. So I've created a quick insert template just for you, and I've created a quick CSV file, which I'm going to attempt to import. We've got headings, include column names, update existing records is ticked, identity insert is on. And so I know that those prices have now updated, or I just changed the first. Oh, actually, no, it didn't. Hang on. We go data. Aha. Field airfill not found. Cannot open, access denied. There you go. That's why you don't do live tests.
Or film with animals or children, it's the same thing.
That's exactly right.
And in theory, that should work. Maybe there are some quirks in the alternative stock item screen. I know that there are a couple of primary keys in it. So there's a primary key on stock items and a primary key on the supplier code as well. So that might be tripping the quick insert up. But let me take a look at that offline and we'll see if we can give you an answer.
Fantastic. Thanks, Murray. Another question here. Can Exo handle prepaid stock invoices where the stock isn't received in? For example, say for 2 months.
Yeah, so I did reach out to Lisa in the chat. I'm not sure if Lisa's still with us, but I did reach out to Lisa in the chat just to clarify the scenario. In general, it's a problematic situation that some people that deal with shipping in goods can face. There's a few scenarios that we can work through to assist the process. One of the questions that I asked Lisa was, okay, so they're issuing a pro forma invoice when they're expecting the deposit, or are they actually issuing the invoice for the goods? Because if it's a pro forma invoice, in fact, even if it is the invoice itself, as long as the due date doesn't fall, well, depending on when the due date falls, you can either process it as a payment direct, so a deposit payment, don't process the invoice at all, and then only process that invoice when the goods are received. The other question that I had, and I suspect this is the case knowing Lisa's business, is that there'll be shipping charges associated with the goods that you're bringing in. So there'll be customs charges, there'll be freight costs and things like that. And so you want to incorporate that when you receipt the goods in and incorporate those costs into the cost of the landed stock. So it is a difficult process to work through. Normally we would just sit down and find what works best for the client within the boundaries of the system. But yeah, it is a challenge. There's no easy solution. Some, for example, may look at reversing out the creditor invoice when it's received and then processing it through again. But another way of tackling it is to simply code the creditor invoice to a GL code. So you're not processing it against the inventory itself. You're just bringing the cost in, you're paying the client, and then reversing that out, as I said, and then bringing the inventory in once you've got all of the shipping costs and everything associated with it. So it's a case of working through and with the client to identify the best solution for them.
Fantastic. Murray, can month-end reports run GL reports be exported to Excel?
Yes. Yes, with limitations. So what I'm going to do is I'll go through the process. So we're going to go to reports, general ledger reports, run GL reports. I'll just pick the P&L report. Now, if we use the clarity formatting template and then we deliver it to Excel, this is the process to follow. And then when we print the report, it should come out reasonably well formatted. They've put a bit of work into this. I know in the past, the alignment's been a bit out and things like that. And I know that there's the odd client that still gets alignment issues around the exporting P&L reports out or exporting reports out from GL report writer. So, and you can see that in my report here, everything's aligned up nicely. I don't have any alignment issues, but it's no guarantee that when you do follow that same process, it's all going to come out perfectly, because everyone's had their P&L reports or their balance sheet reports tinkered with, And so that in itself can cause some issues. So the solution is to utilize a reporting tool, and Excel is your bag. Utilize reporting tools like Alchemex to deliver a fantastic Excel-based GL reporting solution.
That's fantastic. Now, we've got a question here for Julia. Are you there, Julia?
I am here, Stephen.
Fantastic. Got a question about MYOB Advanced Payroll.
Yes.
A particular client here has got 4 companies with 4 different ABNs. How would that be set up within the Advanced Payroll environment? And how would that make the job potentially easier from a payroll perspective?
Well, it really depends on the company requirements. MYOB Advanced is set up to have one tenant, many companies, and within those companies, many branches. So you could have one tenant and many companies. It would depend on who is running the payrolls and who has access to what. It would depend on whether the employees are using workforce management or employee self-service for leave applications. It would depend on whether you have different companies where management between one company and another company approve leave for employees in other companies. So there's a lot of questions there and a lot of different answers. The short answer is yes, one tenant, many companies. It works very, very well. But then that comes with a lot of questions. You could also have other tenants that you would use simply for payroll. You would use the main tenant for your entire finance, or you would use and have other tenants for your payroll, and you would then just export the GLs and import them in to your either internal or external finance system. As easy as that.
That's great, Julia. And just to, I suppose, expand upon that, of course, we do have Exo business clients that are wanting to refresh the way that they interact with their employees. MYOB Advanced Payroll and MYOB Advanced Workforce Management is a great way to supplement what you're doing with Exo Business, give your employees a modern employee self-service feature set, and integrate that into Exo Business in terms of the GL data that comes out. So some 100%. Great options there. Thank you very much. And I did just notice I missed a question here from Jackie just about a scanning solution. I know, Jackie, we've previously dealt around Autodocs, which is a great product used for PDF generation, and you can also use for scanning. Exo integrates quite well with Autodocs. The product's still available and still supported. We also have other options available around pure scanning within the warehouse environment. So depending on what you're wanting to do, for some organizations, it's possibly a desire to move to a 100% paperless environment, either on a shop floor or within a warehouse environment, in which case it might be that more MX as a manufacturing planning and execution system, or for example, a Vexo as a warehouse management system might be more suitable. But there are some options around pure document scanning with Autodocs or solutions such as those. One more question here, and I want to pass over to you, Nick, if I can. Are you there, Nick?
I am indeed, yes.
Fantastic. Now, does the finance area in advance consolidate not only departmentally, but across databases or across tenants? I think is probably the question being asked there by Hallie.
Yeah, so I read the question before you asked it, so I've kind of got it ready in terms of the screen. So it definitely does. And what you can essentially do is from the point of view of the database, you've obviously got you've got the ability to link in multi-companies as well. So now, whether you do this via consolidation, or whether it depends on the scenario of, what you've actually got. So from this point of view, we've got like profit and loss consolidated, and this shows us our different companies, and we can also start to include different tenants within that as well. So we've got a full consolidation layer within the system. So from a multiple tenant side, you can set up that as a separate tenant, and then you can actually consolidate that information through into kind of like a group company. So it means that you've got to convert the currencies across, and you can then pull that into a group report And so you can definitely do that from a multi-tenant point of view as well. And from a multi-company within the same tenant, you can do the same kind of thing. You just pull all of the information together, and you can also do intercompany transactions within the system as well from that point of view as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Now, actually, we do have one more question. I will quickly pass to you, Julia. Sorry, change of mind. We've got a question from Astrid with regards to how they're managing payroll. In essence, they've got a scenario where they don't want their salary to be viewed by staff other than their payroll staff. At the moment, their AP and AR functions are able to view salaries when reconciling the bank statement.
Yeah.
Can you talk to that, Julia?
Yeah, absolutely. So with Advanced, what happens is you can post your journals either in detail or in summary, and we normally recommend summary. However, when it posts the journal, it actually doesn't bring across the employee details, even when it's in detail. So that is all very safe and secure for your payroll people only to see.
Fantastic. That's great.
Murray, is there any setup that can be changed in config to limit access of changing the details against the stock item? In particular, for example, pricing.
Yes, Fiona, there is. If you want to stop them from editing anything, there is a profile. Let's see if I can find it here, which basically makes the stock screen read only. So the stock screen access level, and it's a user profile. You can make it read only, so they can still view all the content, but they can't edit anything. So that's potentially the one that you want to go for. But there are a couple of other profiles here that we can run through. Hide tabs, and not just in the stock screen, but we can hide tabs within most of the screens. I won't bring that up, but basically it gives you the option to hide whatever tabs you select. And lastly, there is a hide stock cost. Now, this is quite a popular one because sometimes you don't want your salespeople, for example, to know what the true cost of the stock item is. So you can hide the stock costs here, and then they can see everything else, but they can't see what the stock costs are. So hopefully that answers your question, Fiona. Next question.
That's great. Another one from Fiona for you, Murray. They currently use Exo 2021.1.1.3 with Office 2019 and Office 365. They're finding that the Exo task scheduler can't sync with Outlook automatically.
Yeah, that is I guess a limitation with Office 365, but there are ways of working around it. And Stephen, I think you're keen to jump in and answer this one, aren't you?
I'm looking forward to hearing the rest of your follow through, Murray.
So yeah, the short answer is yeah, there are ways to get it to work, but there's we might, for example, need to set up a relay server in order to create the sync. But yeah, yes, it can be done.
Yeah, there are some issues with Office 365 with a maximum number of messages that you can send within 1 minute. And if you exceed that, you'll find you'll start getting errors back. If you do use a separate SMTP relay service, you can get around it. Reach out to the support teams. They'd be more than happy to support you with that, Fiona. Now, another question here. And this is about serial numbers. Is there a way to make serial number tracking work properly between locations on sales orders and invoices? And there's a bit of a qualification here in that the client currently uses serial numbers on debtor invoicing. If they're supplying an order to another location, for example, a consigned stock location, when they go to supply the order from that location, they have to manually edit the serial table to say that the serial is in stock. Yeah. Is there any way around this, or are serials just not quite designed to be transferred between locations? Now, it's a bit of a complex one, Murray.
Yeah, there's there's a couple of parts to this, and Karen, I guess the key here is: are you using consignment orders? If the answer is you're working with consignment orders, then yeah, there's probably going to be some issues with making that stock item appear within the consignment location, unless you're actually doing a stock transfer first. So, but there are, if we're working off a location which is just a location that you've got consignment stock in, but it's one of your locations, you can move the stock into that location, and we can transfer the stock serial numbers into that location. So either the quick transfer feature or the DA extended transfer feature, they all pull, if it's a serialized stock item, it'll all go through that location. Now, if the challenge is around reporting and getting information about which location that serial number was sold out of, it may be a case of needing to link. There is a serial trans table that you need to link back through. Now, that's if the serial number has been supplied, for example, it'll get recorded in that table. So if it's a reporting issue rather than a supply issue, and it sounds from what you're answering, it's actually a supply issue, but if it's a reporting issue, it might just be that we need to bring in that serial trans table to create the pathway through, because then from the stock trans table, we know exactly where the location it came out of is. So I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, then look, we can do a deeper dive, ring up support, and we can work through the specific issue with you and see if we can sort you out there.
It's great you heard it here first on the user groups. That's a nice deep one. Thank you, Murray. All right, now a question here from Anna Marie. Can you have two different email addresses for one customer or debtor? In the front screen, so I'm assuming she means details one. I'm a new Exo user and seem to only be able to enter one contact. Sometimes we have a financial contact and a sales contact, but can only enter one of them.
Yeah, the short answer is yes. Semicolons are your friend. If we're using our default email, then a semicolon and then the rest of the second email address is the way to handle that. Now there is a rider on this. There is a proviso, which is the character limit length. You got 60 characters. So if you got two nice long email addresses, you might run out of characters. Now there's some stuff that we can do to work around that as well. So if you do run into issues with character length, sing out to your support team, and we can help you through that as well.
Fantastic. Great stuff, Murray. Thank you. Another question here from Fiona. The batch processing functions that were demonstrated in Distribution Advantage, is that activated by default, or does it have to be customized or activated by a consultant, Murray?
The beautiful thing about it, Fiona, is it's straight out of the box. There's no extra licensing charges for Distribution Advantage. Those templates that I showed you, the one I used is literally the default template. I didn't play with it, didn't edit it. So yep, that is straight out of the box. All you need to do is make sure that DA license code, when your license codes get renewed each year, make sure that the DA license code is copied into Exo config, and you're away laughing.
Yeah, and just to add to that, if you jump on the MYOB Exo Business Center site, you will find that there is actually a user guide called the Exo Distribution Advantage user guide under that site. If you haven't used the MYOB Exo Education Center, familiarize yourself with that. There's lots of great content, including those database schemas and that were so helpful. But yeah, check out that Distribution Advantage user manual. That'll give you lots of tips and tricks as well there, Fiona. All right, continuing on. There's a question here from Chris. Can you link stock items, in particular critical spares, to key pieces of plant and equipment so that it's easy to see if you have a spares on hand in case of an equipment breakdown? This is a late entry.
This is a late entry. And I guess, Chris, the question is, where do you want to see that information? So yeah, absolutely, we can create, if all of your account groups and things like that are already consumed up, we can add extra fields which will say, okay, this product belongs to this piece of equipment, and group all of your stock items that way. But the key thing, I guess, is where you want to see it. So we can create that extra field, and then we can apply that extra field into the stock search screen, so that if you want to search on a particular extra field, we can make that happen through extended stock search functionality. And so you can search on that, that piece of equipment, type in the name of the equipment, boom, all the stock that's associated with it will come up. So yeah, the short answer, absolutely.
Just to add to that, another way you could potentially look at it is using serviceable units within Exo. We've got a feature in Exo now free since it was free module since the 2017 module changes that MYOB did. You can create serviceable units for all of your plant and equipment, and there's no reason why you couldn't link that serviceable unit to a stock item via an extra field with a lookup. So some great function you could get there, Chris. Just reach out to your consulting team for additional support with that one. Now, another quick one, and I know we're running short on time. I'm going to try and get through all these questions if we can, even if we go a little bit over, if that's okay. To the team, one here from Rod, and I think this is the last one for you, Murray. Can we use job costing to automatically create a job based on my expected service schedule?
Yes, absolutely. We can create scripts that will automate the creation of a job. We can link it to a serviceable unit, so that if, for example, the service is due on that serviceable unit, they can use that to trigger the job creation. Or we can, if that's a little bit too automated for you, we could set up some kind of manual process to trigger the job creation. So yeah, automating the creation of jobs is something that we can do with a stored procedure, and yeah, like as I said, maybe a scheduled task or something other like that to pick up.
Fantastic. And I think that's it for you, Murray. Thank you. Now, Julia, we have a question here for you if you're ready to go.
There we go, Stephen, ready to go.
What were we called the other day, Julia? The godmother of payroll.
Oh, please don't. It makes me sound old.
Never, Julia, never. Question here from Linda with regards to MYOB Advanced Payroll.
Yes.
When the new financial year comes around, would I have to manually update everyone's awards or pay rates in Advanced Payroll?
Well, that's a twofold question, because if you only used Advanced Payroll, we could do what we call an import scenario. You could import anything into the payroll. It's basically having sort of an Excel template ready with the new rates, and you upload them within, I'd love to say minutes, maybe 1 minute, depending on how many there were, of course. But the second part of that question is, would you be using workforce management? And Sophia, you can answer that one.
Thanks, Julia. Hi, Linda. If you use workforce management, we could set up the pay levels based on your company award interpretation, and we could link these pay levels to your individual employee's mass file. Once, by the end of financial year, there is an update in the employee's pay levels, pay rate, we could attach a new version of the pay rate to the existing pay rate. And when the employee's timesheet has been calculated, this new pay rate can be pushed through from the advanced payroll side. And it's quite handy in the general payroll practice right now.
Fantastic. And I think that's all the payroll and workforce management questions we've got for now. So thank you, ladies. Appreciate your work. Question here from Karen with regards to what products in our ecosystem we have for the complex manufacturing requirements, particularly around scheduling. Now, there's a couple of different options here, Karen. We do actually have a dedicated manufacturing-specific module that integrates directly with MYOB Exo called More Manufacturing. More Manufacturing is very much focused on those discrete manufacturers, so not process manufacturing, but discrete manufacturing, and really talks to those pain points of how to really accurately manage bills of material, routes, the construction of those, the equivalent of recipes, How do we manage material resource planning to automatically generate work orders, purchase orders to actually do that work? How do we then schedule it, track that work through the shop floor, capture time, capture materials, be it backflushed or be it actual usage, and then have it flow out the other end as finished goods into Exo ready to sell. So there's a great option there in more manufacturing for our Exo users. Of course, MYOB Advanced also has a manufacturing edition that specializes again in discrete manufacturing around that space, and has features around the scheduling component of that as well. So both of those are options we could look at. Now, there's another question here just around the connected services pieces, around how do we support clients with staff expenses claim processing within Exo. We do have one of our connected services called Expense Manager. Expense Manager focus particularly on that pain point. How do we make the submission of expense claims for staff easy through a mobile-based solution? How do we provide a simple but powerful workflow engine to manage the approval of that? And then how do we easily get that into Exo for payment? So that's a great option for you. They also support AP automation features as well. So I just suggest that you reach out to your partner, have that conversation around Expense Manager. It might be a good option for you there. Now, to come into a couple of advanced questions, are you there, Nick?
I am indeed, yes.
Got a couple of questions here. Firstly, one around advanced in manufacturing, and I think I've kind of answered it, but there's a specific question around how advanced supports bills and materials on work orders. Can you just give us the quick 30-second, 1 minute rundown, please?
Yeah, no probs. So I guess it kind of depends on the level that you want to do it within advanced. Now, as Stephen mentioned before, there's a full manufacturing module. So that manufacturing module allows you to create allows you to create bill of materials and have different stages within those bill of materials. So you can have, like, the spraying, the building, all the different elements of those bill of materials. So you can really have those different kind of like levels from that side of things. And then you can then create production orders either from sales orders or just production orders directly, or even get the system to work out what production orders you need to actually do. And also on that frame, you can then get the replenishment element within MYOB Advanced to kind of bring in all of the stock that you need to fulfill those production orders. So that's kind of like the top level side of things. There is another option using kit assemblies and kit specifications if you want to do like a more of a light manufacturing, and you don't want it as complex as what you've got within the full manufacturing module itself.
Fantastic. And one more little techie question. What programming language does Advanced use? Is it possible to access database tables to read and write to? Is it possible to customize the solution at all? Now, I might just talk at a very high level to this one, Nick, and then let you add in for that.
Yeah.
Yes, so look, MYOB Advanced is based around a highly customizable framework. There's a combination of what we call sort of low code. In other words, adjust the solution through workflows, through business alerts, and a lot of stuff that you can actually do without any programming knowledge at all. So low code type customizations, as well as code level customizations. There's the ability to customize both user interface, custom user interfaces, extensions to user interfaces, including creating custom data sources at the back end. Absolutely, we can do all of that. It's written in .NET, so .NET, C#.NET, and is a very extendable application. Anything to add, Nick?
I mean, you've covered a lot of it. I'm just going to say it's a MySQL backend. You don't necessarily have access to it, but we have things like import scenarios. We have APIs that can kind of like talk to it from different systems. So you can use those potentially to kind of feed the data from other systems into it.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, and that's all of our questions. I think we're done.